In late 2025, something unexpected happened in Japan, creating a wide discussion. It was not a political argument or an economic problem. Instead, it was about the personal sleep habits of the country's most important leader. Sanai Takaichi had recently become Japan's first female prime minister, marking a new chapter for the nation. One very early morning, she made a surprising decision. She called her entire staff to a meeting at 3 a.m. They gathered at her official residence. The session was to prepare for an important budget committee hearing, which began at 9 a.m. that same morning. This unusual 3 a.m. meeting quickly grabbed national attention and surprised many across Japan. It was very rare for a national leader to ask staff to abandon their sleep before dawn. Just days after this early meeting, Prime Minister Takaichi spoke openly about her own sleep schedule. During a public hearing, she casually mentioned she typically slept only 2 hours each night. At most, she might get 4 hours of sleep. She even added a touch of humor, saying such little sleep was probably bad for her skin. These personal comments from the Prime Minister were not simple remarks in Japan. The country has a long and difficult history with overwork culture, where people work extremely long hours. This problem is very serious. Sometimes people get very sick or even die from working too much. So, the Prime Minister's words quickly started a deep national conversation. People began to ask big questions. Is it right for a leader to set an example of sleeping so little? What does this mean for the health of the workforce? Her actions made many in Japan wonder if the country would finally change its harmful work culture, or if this demanding way of life would continue. 2. A history of overwork. Japan has a sad word called karoshi. It means death from overwork. The first known case happened in 1978. A young man, only 29 years old, died from a stroke after working very long hours at a newspaper company. In the 1980s and 90s, more and more people died this way. Healthy workers in their 30s and 40s suddenly had heart attacks or strokes. Some even took their own lives because of too much work. This was called karojisatsu, or suicide from overwork. When Japan's economy grew fast, companies asked employees to work more. Even when the economy faced problems in the 1990s, companies still demanded longer hours from fewer staff members. This made the overwork problem worse for many years. The government was slow to act. The Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare started counting these deaths in 2001. That year, they recorded 143 deaths. By 2002, it was 317. However, many experts believe the real numbers are much higher. They think about 10,000 people die each year from overwork. This means the official numbers show only a small part of the problem. In 2018, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe tried to fix this with a new law called Work Style Reform. For the first time, there were limits on how much overtime people could work. Regular overtime was capped at 45 hours a month. But this law had big problems. In special situations, companies could ask for 100 hours of overtime each month. The government itself had said that 100 hours was dangerous and could cause karoshi. So the law allowed dangerous levels of work, and some jobs, like doctors, were completely free from these caps. Even with these reforms, the problem did not go away. In 2025, government studies found that 1 out of 10 workers still worked more than 80 hours of overtime every month. This is a very risky amount of work. The latest information from Japan's Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare shows that in 2024, there were 1,304 recognized cases of karoshi and other work-related health issues. This number was higher than the year before. More than 1,000 cases were about mental health problems, with 89 suicides or attempted suicides linked to overwork. The number of people suffering or dying from overwork is still increasing, showing that deep changes are still needed. 3. New rules, old problems. Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi often talks about protecting workers' health and making sure they have good lives. Her government says it wants to support the well-being of all employees. However, at the same time, a new plan is being discussed. This plan might allow people to work more overtime hours than before. This creates a clear difference between what is said and what might be done. The Prime Minister explains that some workers wish to have the option to work more. They might need extra income or want to take on more tasks. She says that loosening overtime rules would give workers more freedom to choose. It would let them earn extra money if they want, while still having some safeguards. But this idea brings up a familiar issue in Japan. There is often a big gap between official rules and the daily reality in workplaces. Japanese companies have a long history of pushing for long hours. Workers often feel a strong social and professional pressure to accept overtime, even when official limits exist. These pressures are especially hard on younger employees and those with temporary contracts. Comparing Japan to other developed countries shows a different way to work. The average Japanese worker spends about 1,607 hours at work each year. This is more than many countries in Northern Europe. For example, in Germany, people work around 1,349 hours annually. Workers in Denmark, the Netherlands, and Sweden also work fewer hours. Yet these European countries often have stronger economies and create more wealth per person. This suggests that working shorter hours can actually lead to higher productivity and better results for a nation. Long hours do not always mean better output. They can actually make people less creative and less effective. The government's proposal to raise overtime limits comes even when Japan's current rules are not as strict as they could be compared to global standards. The tension is clear. While leaders speak of worker health, the actual policies and workplace culture push people towards working more. This conflict means that while new rules are discussed, the deep-seated problems of overwork in Japan continue. The official policies often struggle against the strong, unwritten rules and expectations inside Japanese companies. This makes it hard to change the old problems, even with new laws. 4. A woman in charge. When Sanae Takaichi became Japan's first female prime minister, many people had a special hope. They thought a woman leader might bring new ideas to Japan's work culture. People hoped she would help change the long working hours and difficult work-life balance problems that the country faced. There was a feeling that she would introduce a fresh, more balanced approach to leadership. But Prime Minister Takaichi surprised some people. She did not seem to challenge the old ways of working. Instead, she chose a style of leadership that looked very traditional, even masculine. This style asked for extreme hard work and much personal sacrifice. She famously said in public, "I will discard the term work-life balance for myself. I will work, 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 and work." She also asked members of her political party to labor like workhorses. These words suggested that very long hours and little rest were good qualities for leaders and workers. This sounded like the old, demanding way of leading that Japan knew well. Some people think that women leaders, especially when they are the first in such a big role, might feel they need to work even harder than men. This is sometimes called the prove it again bias. They might feel strong pressure to show great skill, strength, and endless dedication. This could mean they cannot show any sign of needing personal time or rest, which male leaders might find easier to do. Prime Minister Takaichi, as the first female leader, might have felt this need to show extreme dedication to prove she was very fit for such an important job. The public had different opinions about her style. Many women felt proud of her strong commitment. A survey showed that 53% of Japanese women saw her comments in a good way. They believed her words showed great dedication to her country and her job. They admired her hard work and saw it as a sign of strength. However, not everyone felt the same. 29% of women were worried about her example. They feared that the Prime Minister's words and actions would make the overwork problem worse across the country. They thought companies might use her example to make employees work even longer hours and ignore rules about work-life balance. These women worried it would hurt efforts to create a better balance between work and life for everyone in Japan, especially for other women trying to manage both career and family. Her example, while inspiring to some, also caused serious concern about the future of work in Japan. 5. What happens when we don't sleep? When people do not get enough sleep, many bad things can happen to their bodies and minds. Science shows that sleeping too little makes it hard to think clearly. It can also make people feel sad more often. When a person sleeps less than 4 hours a night, they may feel very tired, almost like they have been awake for 2 days. This is not good for anyone, especially for people who have important jobs. For example, doctors who do not get enough sleep can make more mistakes when they help patients.
This is very serious for people's health. Leaders, like a prime minister, also make very important decisions for a country. If they are sleeping only 2 hours each night, their thinking may not be as good. This can lead to wrong choices for the whole country. In Japan, many people do not get enough sleep.
Reports show that many men and women sleep less than 6 hours on average. This is less than the recommended 7 to 8 hours. In Japan, there is a special word called inemuri. This means sleeping while present. It is common to see people taking short naps in public places, like on trains or even at work. Sometimes people think this shows how hard someone works. They might believe that the person is so dedicated they do not have time to sleep at home. This idea makes it seem like not sleeping enough is a good thing, even a sign of being a good worker. However, some companies are trying to help. One person, Takanori Kobayashi, started a company called Neurospace. His company helps other businesses create special sleep programs for their workers. Some offices now have power napping rooms where employees can take short naps during the workday. The idea is to help people get a little more rest. But some people think that these nap rooms are not a real solution. They say that companies should instead shorten work hours so people can get enough sleep at home, rather than just napping during the day. It is like putting a small bandage on a big problem. The real issue is still too many hours of work. 6. Does hard work pay off? Many people believe that working longer hours always leads to better results. But is this idea true for everyone and for a whole country? We can look at other nations to find an answer. For instance, in Germany, people work fewer hours each year. German law sets limits on how long people can work daily. Workers there spend about 1,349 hours at work annually. This is almost 250 hours less than the average Japanese worker. Yet, Germany's economy is one of the strongest in the world. They are known for making high-quality products like cars and special machines. Countries like Denmark and Sweden also have shorter working hours. These nations often rank high in how happy their workers are and how many new ideas they produce. This shows that a strong economy does not need people to be completely tired all the time. In fact, there are many hidden costs when people work too much and do not get enough sleep. When workers are tired, they are more likely to make mistakes. Their brains find it harder to be creative and think of new ideas. It also becomes difficult for them to learn new things or remember information well. This means that a person working 2 hours of sleep a night might not be more productive. They might simply be working, but their quality of work is lower. After many hours, the quality of work goes down a lot. An employee who is fresh in the morning creates more value than one who is exhausted late at night. Pushing workers to extreme hours often means getting a small amount of extra work, but at the cost of overall quality and efficiency. Overwork culture can also stop new ideas and business growth. When talented people, especially women, have to choose between their career and their health or family life, many might leave their jobs or aim for less. Japan needs all its talented people to help the country grow and face challenges. Losing them because of an intense work culture is a big problem. This means that working too hard can actually slow down a country's progress and stop new ideas from forming. Real success comes from having well-rested, creative, and healthy workers. 7. How one leader changes a country. A leader's personal actions send a very strong message to everyone in the country. What leaders do, not just what they say, helps shape how companies and people behave. When a country's leader works very long hours, it can make people think that working like this is normal or even good. Prime Minister Takaichi's habits, such as her short sleep schedule and holding a 3 a.m. meeting, became a powerful sign for Japan. Her actions suggested that extreme hard work is not only acceptable but perhaps necessary for people in important positions. This kind of example can make companies feel it is okay to ask too much from their staff. Managers in companies might see their leader normalizing huge sacrifices and then ask the same from their own teams. This situation led to different opinions among the public. A survey of Japanese women showed that 53% had a positive view of Prime Minister Takaichi's statements and actions. They saw her commitment as a sign of dedication to public service. They found it inspiring to see a leader so focused on her job. However, 29% of those surveyed did not agree. They worried that the Prime Minister's example would encourage companies to ignore rules about work-life balance. Many feared that Japan might go back to a time when taking care of oneself was not important. Some were concerned that this could make the overwork problem, which already causes many health issues, even worse. This split showed that the country was divided on what true dedication means and what price a nation should pay for ambition. 8. A choice for Japan. Japan has a deep problem with overwork. Many people work very long hours, and some even die from this, a problem known as karoshi. Now, the country is at a very important moment. It must choose which way to go for its future. This choice will affect everyone in Japan and how they live and work. One path leads to real change. On this path, Japan would work towards a better balance between work and life. Companies would help employees stay healthy and get enough rest. This would mean fewer hours for many workers and more time for their families and hobbies. People would value sleep and well-being, knowing that a rested worker can be more creative and productive. This future promises a healthier, happier society for everyone. The other path means staying the same. If Japan follows this way, the harmful culture of overwork will continue. Companies might keep asking for very long hours, and people might still feel pressure to sacrifice their health for their jobs. This path could lead to more problems with karoshi and stress.
It could also make it harder for Japan to grow and create new ideas. This future would continue a difficult struggle for many workers. Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi is a symbol of this big choice. She said she only sleeps 2 to 4 hours each night and once called a meeting at 3 in the morning. For some, her actions show strong dedication to her country. But for others, her example makes the overwork problem worse, showing that extreme sacrifice is expected. Her own choices show how hard it is for Japan to decide. She represents the struggle between old traditions of hard work and new ideas about a healthier life. The country's decision will shape its future for many years. It is a choice about what kind of society Japan wants to be. Will it bravely change its ways to put people's health first? Or will it hold on to old habits that cause harm? The answer will show if Japan can move forward with a new, healthy idea of success. What do you think is the most important thing for Japan to change in its work culture?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.